Welcome to I Love California City. I'm James Robinson, and today we are interviewing would-be candidates for our city council. Would you mind introducing yourself and tell us why you became a resident of California City and what keeps you here?
Good afternoon. My name is Shawn Bradley. I came to California City back in 2014 from Orange County. I worked remote at the time, and I looked up online a place where I could buy an affordable home. So that led me to doing research on California City, the missed opportunities of what it originally was supposed to be. It really intrigued me. So I, took the chance and I came here. What keeps me here is because over time, even though it's a city, as far as the definition, it's still a close-knit community. So there's a lot of good people here, a lot of good aspirations that people have that I'm also intrigued with, and I just still see that opportunity that I did the day I moved here. So that's what keeps me here, and that's why I'm committed to being here.
What made you decide to run for office?
Yes, so I had run before, and it's the same then as it is now, that I want to see this community thrive, prosper, build businesses, really have great opportunities. And it's somewhere that I'm committed to wanting to be at for quite some time. I've been here, like I said, since 2014. I do see the potential. I have seen opportunities where they've tried to make things better, but then it kind of falls backwards. So I feel that by running for council, I can really serve the people and serve them well, because what they want is what I'll be helping pursue, and making sure that we can take action, because as a decision-making body, I have a vote, but it also gives me an opportunity to request things be put on the agenda so we can discuss them, not just let things fall on the back burner, not just have, thoughts, but really turn them into actions or movement to making them into actions, so we can all prosper.
Have you held public office before?
So as far as in a governmental standpoint, no. But when I was in junior high school, I was the state junior high representative for the state of New Hampshire. What it was is schoolmates, my peers all across all the schools within the state, all met at our capital, and they elected someone to represent them. So I was fortunate enough to win. And it gave me a lot of insight. It gave me a big understanding that it's not just me going there for me and what my ambitions are, but really serving all the needs of those underprivileged children, and there's certain schools that don't have certain things that other schools have. It was really being able to have a voice as a student, as a youth, with our government officials, so that we could help make better policies for the youth and the schools. So that year that I did serve, I also had a tutor and a mentor. So part of the days I would go to school, and then others I would go to the Capitol to have conversations with elected leaders, things like that, and really bring back what the students wanted, what the youth wanted to make our schools better and safer. So,
in reference to that experience, I imagine you had certain expectations as you entered that. How was it different than what you expected?
So I think back then I was a youth. We had a lot of expectations, but we know by adults, a lot of things sometimes just don't happen that way. So it was a lot of learning lessons, just understanding how to articulate yourself. It gave me a lot of structure as far as how government works, school systems work, things like that. So all that knowledge sharing and stuff like that just helped me understand the importance of, serving others. So.
Shawn, what makes you qualified for this position?
I'm a constant participant at our city council meetings. I understand what's going on in our city, the bads, the goods. I also have an understanding of the Brown Act and the requirements there. I understand what it means to legislate and the importance of making good decisions, because your decision impacts everyone. So when it comes to qualified, like I said, I'm very knowledgeable with how our city operates. Some will call me a geek when it comes to the municipal code. A lot of council meetings, I'll question ordinances not being basically followed through with by council themselves. I've been outspoken with things like that as far as you make the public have to abide by ordinances, or AKA laws, what some people would consider them. But the city government has to as well. And no one is above the law, including our government. Between the knowledge, ongoing participation, knowing what needs to be done, knowing what hasn't worked, really, I think better prepares me to be an effective council member, not just qualified, but effective and understand what the responsibilities that come with it.
In your opinion, what is the proper role of city government?
The proper role of city government is they are policymakers. They make decisions. We call them ordinances. They help make our city function. They help provide services, making sure that they're upkept, dealing with our budget, representing us outside to other legislative bodies. They're really supposed to be the ones who help us move forward, grow, prosper. They're the decision makers.
So as a representative of the people, what methods will you use to stay in touch with the mood, the interest, the concerns, and the desires of the public?
So one of the things that I have committed to the public, and something I did last time, is when it comes to understanding their interests, their concerns, and all that, I want to have quarterly town hall meetings with myself and the public so we can have sit-down conversations, understand what interests they are looking at for pursuing for our city, understanding their frustrations, their concerns. So that way it helps me always throw out that olive branch, not just that commitment, but knowing that they can reach me via phone, they can reach me via social media. I'm very active when it comes to social media, seeing all the different posts, their concerns of the city, and I can respond. So that will help me be able to stay constantly engaged with them, not just on the dais at city council meetings, but them knowing that they always have a way to reach me, whether it be via phone, online, or quarterly town hall meetings that I will have.
Many council persons see their primary role as one of oversight and guardians of the public's finances. As a council person, what can you do to improve the quality of life in California City that doesn't involve the city budget?
Majority of the stuff here does involve the budget, probably about 99% of it. That small percentage that doesn't. It's really your quality of life for the public is making people feel like we are going to grow, that they have opportunities and different things that they can pursue here. But unfortunately, I think that question really is very hard, I think, for any government to do because it really does involve money. I could say I could enhance your quality of life by giving more things at our parks, but that takes money. I could tell you I could put desert landscape in front of City Hall so at least it's not dirt. That takes money. So I think it's really very limited in government of something we can do without it being part of the budget. I know we did used to have police and fire where they would have more meet and greets with the public and different community things like that. That doesn't cost money. It does cost time. And unfortunately with limited sources, that becomes, less and less of viability of that happening. Fortunately, it's going to take money for people to feel like they have a quality of life here. I think in different times, I would have answered that question quite differently. But today, I think it does involve the budget in some way, shape, or form, any way you look at it. We do have a company that's willing to put a sign up in front of City Hall. That's something outside the budget. How would it really help your life? Maybe it could be a sign that could give you information when you drive by. So that's an opportunity for you. As far as enhancing your quality of life, I'm not sure how much that will do, but unfortunately, it's very hard in our current state of our city. So.
Which issue or issues do you consider the greatest facing California City? And how will your service as a council person address them?
So there's many issues that I think are quite pressing. First, our current state of our finances. That issue has transpired into a secondary issue of having to terminate over 19 employees. So that's a substantial issue right there. To me, it's about providing good governance to our community. And we have fiduciary duties as a council to the public first. That's really what it means. Besides our finances, it's also making bad decisions. We've become a city, I think, that becomes complacent, reacting over certain things rather than being proactive with certain issues. Kind of like the special tax. We knew that was ending years ago, but unfortunately no plan was made. No follow through was done. I think between addressing that, addressing our finances, wasteful spending, it's ridiculous with city attorney fees. Our budget is almost double than any other past administration. That should be a red flag to everyone of why are we spending so much money in city attorney fees. All of this, it comes down to the major issues that we really need to tackle is good governance, wasteful spending, handling our finances, and getting our city on track to move forward and not continuously backward.
Persons running for office state what they will do. This wish list is generally what we all want. Wanting something and having a practical, workable plan to accomplish it are two different things. How will you accomplish the things we all want when others have failed at the same task in the past? What makes your plan different?
I'll start off with one word: persistence. I think from what I've seen from current leaders is they will try to discuss something, it just doesn't work out, and they just brush it under the paperwork. To me, it's about always staying in front of what is being sought. So for me, it's putting things on the agenda. If not, bringing it up at every council meeting when it comes my time to speak, over and over and over and over again until it's addressed and handled at the satisfaction of the public. That's what it is. It's not just being persistent, but it's really pushing the envelope to make sure that we don't let things fall through the cracks. We don't just take complacency for any type of good thing to happen. So even if the others don't want to pursue something or they're not saying, to be bought into it, it's you as an elected official going out there to the public, getting them to rally with you to help the others understand that this is something we all want. This is something that we want to be done, and that I will help make sure that it's brought forward so there is discussion about it.
During every election cycle, candidates promise to bring in new business, to increase our tax base, yet no one has succeeded. Cannabis came, but the large promised revenue did not follow it. How will you bring business to California City?
So there's numerous ways that other governments bring businesses to their city. I call them concessions, or some will call them grants. So if we still are getting ARPA funds or different types of funds, I would like to allocate a certain amount of that to have new business startup grants to help bring businesses here, to really show them that not only do we as a government believe in you being here, but we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. I believe if we can do that, it helps with job creation, it helps with sales revenue and sales taxes, and it really helps build our economy. Sometimes they say to make money, you have to spend money. So that is one opportunity, is making some sort of small business grant for people that will come here. It can range anywhere from a few $1,000s to maybe $10,000, only allocate a certain amount. Let the public help decide who those grantee recipients are of those things. Maybe it could be based on the type of business that wants to come here that everyone is raving about, things like that. So again, we also have the community as being part of it. I believe when it comes to businesses, it's not just your government trying to help get them. It's the news, reaching out to the news, really promoting our city. Your elected council members, they're not just really decision makers. They can do a lot of things on their own individual time, outside of a meeting. So for me, I would be willing to go to other places, whether it be business events, things like that, let them know what our city's about, let them know, hey, no matter what you heard, we're on the path to possibilities. We're making a change, because we have to also look at why haven't some come, right? It could be the negative effects they hear from the news, the media, whether it be social media or, newspapers. We've all seen it. We've all heard it. So it's really working with our Chamber of Commerce and things like that, really trying to help promote the city and to get our community engaged. Maybe do a nice little video out there saying, hey, come to our town. You know, this person has a degree in this person has a degree in this. We have a talented base here. You know what I mean? And really, as a council member, pushing out like, hey, why don't you watch this video about our city? Like, come here. And then if we could even possibly provide grants, like, hey, we have a grant opportunity. This is a great idea. I think it would work out. You know what I mean? Making that type of reach out. So it, you know, to me, a lot of times I think cities like we're going through right now, they're just waiting for someone to come here. They're not going knocking on their door. They're just like, well, if they want to come, they want to come. If not, they don't. You know, we need to show that we're not just the words business friendly. Like, we're not only business friendly, like we'll seek you out. We'll go to where you are. We will meet you there and let us have a conversation. You know, let's see what we can do. So for me, I think those are great ways to bring businesses here. You know, painting our city in a better light to the news, to everything, and doing reach out. To get them here, we have to go find them.
California City has gone through 10 city managers, interim or acting city managers, in the last 7 years. We've experienced a similar turnover in department heads. What will you do to stabilize the city and maintain some continuity?
Yeah, so we have gone a lot, and all that costs a lot of money. So if it was me, it would have been about deciding a permanent city manager a long time ago. Sometimes you have to pay more to get more. So when it comes to sometimes cutting costs, they don't realize the full effect of it, that it can actually cost more. So the reason why we've had so many city managers is because they've either left, they weren't given support by city council as a city manager, had issues where the things that they wanted to do to say that they could help make that difference weren't able to be transpired into anything. So then, you know, it's kind of like you become the fall guy, if you will, for something that you try to address, but they limited you from addressing it, but now it's still your fault. You know, so I think it's really the support of council that has driven some out. A lot of them, a majority of them, have actually just been appointed by the council. They're either interim city managers, acting city managers. We've had various types. And a lot of the acting city managers are current staff. So it all comes down to, especially these past years, out of all that number, why were 6 of them in this current administration? Well, we actually had an opportunity to hire someone very well qualified, experienced. He was here as an interim, and in order for him to come out of retirement, he needed a certain amount of salary. Now, it wasn't ridiculous compared to what some staff make, if you really look at the roster. That it was fair. You know what I mean? You're getting a qualified person, a person who wouldn't spend all that extra time meeting a city attorney to understand what their job function is, what they can and can't do. They have all that knowledge, that, you know, so you're saving that way. So by having all these interim people and acting people, they don't have that experience. They don't have that knowledge. So even though we're paying them a lot less, we're now spending the offset of that in city attorney fees to help educate them, tell them what they can and can't do. You know what I mean? So that takes time and resources. And it's not someone who's going to retain that information, because now they're gone and it's someone new. You know what I mean? So my approach is very simple to that question, is getting a permanent city manager. And sometimes we're going to have to pay more to understand that we're going to be saving a lot more in the end, because of how statistics have played out currently.
I think you kind of touched on it, but what recent decisions by the council do you think have had a negative impact on our city, and why?
Yeah, so, well, the city talks about city image being a problem. I know some of our elected officials have even indicated such. And if you're really passionate about city image, I don't find it good practice to terminate 19 people who help maintain the city. So when it comes to parks and things like that, who's picking up your parks? It's now the community. You place the burden on your public for something that you caused. That's the truth. Then it transpired to the next bad decision. No longer have a police chief and a fire chief. We're going to have a combined job, and that is considered a public safety director. I actually was very outspoken at that during the council meeting. So when they decided to combine those positions, it was off of the precedence of, well, there's other places that do that here in California. I asked them which ones, took a few minutes, and they came up with the town of Lancaster. Then I told the city council meeting at the most current city council meeting of, well, that is not true, because the city of Lancaster, California, has a police chief, and he used to be the public safety director, but he's still a police chief. So here's how public safety directors usually work in the towns of California that do have them. So again, when they stated that, I believe they didn't do their research. They just threw out something based off of an audience member. But I actually researched that, and I know that's not true. For me, how can you say you want your city to move forward? How can you say you care about your community, but these things are affecting your community? I don't find it acceptable to be dependent upon the community to pick up the slack for city government. That's not why they moved here. They didn't come here to take care of the park in order to use the park. You know what I mean? That's not a city providing you service. How do you feel like the city is serving you well? They're not. They're basically saying to you, because we can't afford it, because you didn't vote for a special tax, your punishment is you have to pick this all up yourself. So to me, those are very immediate, recent bad decisions that really put the red flags out there, not just to me, but to our community, going, oh my God, we're going downhill. And that is why I wrote an article in the Mojave Desert News called Saving California City from Insolvency, because a prior city manager alluded to that. So
California City is in a financial crisis. We've not had a real budget in more than 2 years. We do not have liability insurance, placing the city at risk. We're behind on our bills. What can you do as a council member to create financial stability and put us on a sustainable track forward?
So for me, it's not just about the budget per se, but we haven't even had a budget meeting. You know, like even when we got rid of the 19 people, we never had a budget meeting. And that's something we need to consistently have as a government. That's something that you're supposed to have. That used to happen back in the day, but it just doesn't anymore. You know, our budget meeting in today's world is when it comes time to council being like, oh, what's our finances? This is where we're at. You know what I mean? Like, again, when you're not having these budget meetings, you're not watching the money. You're simply not. So for me, it's making sure as a council member, I'm always questioning that at the end of every meeting when it comes my time and saying, where's the budget? Where's the budget? Meaning I'm not the type of person where I'm going to accept bad behavior or assume that I'm sorry, I'll get to it is an acceptable response. You know what I mean? Because that to me shows complacency. Like there's no accountability. There's no accountability. So we need to be accountable for our finances. We need to be accountable for the expenses. So when it comes to the budget, you know, that's money going out the door or money coming in. We need to itemize everything. We need to make sure that on our city portal, the public can access our finances, understand what our money, what money's coming in, what money's going out. Like that's how we can be on top of a budget. And that's something I will do consistently until I know, like, we have timelines when the public can be aware. When is our budget meeting? How often is our budget meeting? Let's set a dates right now for the next year, so that way the public can be involved. And you know what I mean? Like, no procrastination. We have to address our budget.
With current staff cutbacks, California City will need to be creative in meeting the community's needs. What will you do to fill the gap?
Well, unless I'm going to go out there doing the jobs of the people that have been terminated, that's going to be quite hard, you know, especially as myself. So when it comes to what I can do is bring forth an agenda item to discuss those 19 people being laid off and cutting down our wasteful spending to bring some back so they can be the ones to maintain things for our community. And again, I'm not a believer of being dependent upon the public to solve the issues of the city that they created themselves.
The Measure C special parcel tax came to an end. The cannabis industry tax has never materialized in any significant way. A new special tax has failed twice now. What's your plan to maintaining the functioning city with even fewer funds.
Until we get more businesses and more money here, more revenue for our city. Wasteful spending. I'll just tackle one thing: city attorney. I don't know why we need a budget of $1.5 million for them. Past councils, it's been under $1 million. If I could cut $500,000 there by reducing lawsuits to our city, firing people that shouldn't have been fired, or certain other types of situations that cause them to be sued as a city, that's really what we need to address. So it's being proactive with things to limit expense increases, cutting our wasteful spending, and I believe just those two things there will help us. We can't live outside our means.
Let me ask, would you support a new parcel tax?
I would say I would with conditions. And I believe everyone would have supported the tax the first time, even the second time. The problem is the government has a really hard time with delivering on their promises. When the tax was passed, it was under the understanding of this will be the last tax. We won't need it again because cannabis is going to save us all. Well, it didn't. We knew it wasn't going to from the very start. Again, dependency on your public. Would I support it? Yes, but I would only support it with a concrete plan of actions to address that, to help create more revenue, to help us reduce expenses or the need for as much from the public. What it is over time, because the government was like, well, they're not going to help us. They're not going to fulfill the dream. They really didn't tackle it head on. They neglected it in some ways by not having a cannabis compliance officer. You had no one maintaining the ship. You can't allow something if you don't have the means to handle it.
It says below are some common concerns, and we'd like you to address each on how you as a city council person could affect or not affect them. The first one being available healthcare services.
All right, so available healthcare services. Right now, we work in conjunction with East Kern Healthcare District. They do a lot of health services in our community and in the county. It's that. Otherwise, it's going out to businesses and trying to get other healthcare organizations, whether it be veterinarians, primary care physicians, specialists. To come out here, we'd have to go seek them out, but we'd have to show the need for it. Fortunately, when it comes to healthcare services, over the past few years, we now do have an urgent care in town, so that is a move in the right direction. Again, healthcare services are generally private entities, you know what I mean? So unless we're appealing for them to come or they have a reason to come, that's going to be a harder one to address because it's really up to those type of businesses to want to come here.
How about local businesses? Our availability of common stores and places of entertainment is very limited. Many stores just don't last. Is there anything that you can do about local businesses?
I think when it comes to government, we're very limited what we can do for established businesses. Differs the grant thing for those who want to start up. But again, making sure that for those that are already here and established, it's making sure that their businesses are safe, from crime, things like that. Really just embracing them. That's really all we can do. We do have limited inventory as far as existing spaces for businesses to go into, so some places might be a little more run down that aren't appealing to other people, or some just want businesses they don't have to lease. Just like we've had some in the plaza down the road, and they've closed down because their landlord was increasing the rent significantly. It's establishing different additional business parks, if you will, or different buildings that can really support additional businesses unless they build it themselves. So.
Well, along that same line, how about larger industries for local employment and supporting our tax base?
I still do think cannabis has opportunities. Again, I'm more for in a restricted area, not a mixed area, because I still do contribute. I'm also a firm believer of going to distribution companies, manufacturing companies, because to me, this is an ideal place for them. We have a lot of desert land where they could build big facilities, kind of like the Amazons or different places like that, because we are also a selling point. We are right on the intersection of the 58 and 14. Transportation companies and those type of businesses, I think that's the type of industries we also need to go, because I believe if we can get these type of businesses to come, they bring jobs, which demands housing, and more businesses. More businesses will come when you have a lot more population and demand. That's usually where people show up. So I think if we can do like those type of distribution, warehouse centers, even call centers, large scale, structures that potentially have a good significant amount of staffing in each based off of their industry.
How about our water main breaks? Anything that you can do to affect those?
Well, they're still happening. I don't think as often as they were before, but they still do happen. Again, proactive approach, right? It's making sure that we have the funds and the supplies to replace them, not just when they burst, but really addressing all of our pipelines in our cities because they're over 50 years old in some spots. They're crumbling and things like that. We need the tools, the technology to really identify those ones that are potentially about to explode. There's actually a cool system that a city uses, and it goes in the pipeline and it does like a lot of technology where it can determine where leaks are present. They can determine like things that are compromised and things like that where they can identify in the system, and that would help us address those things.
How about the generally poor appearance of the city?
So poor appearance, we all see litter all around everywhere we go. So whether it be more involvement with our Chamber of Commerce or other types of organizations to really, with the city, help them out and see if we can tackle things together when it comes to like cleaning up our city that way. City Hall, maybe as a city government, we could allocate a couple $1,000s to put desert landscape in so it's not just dirt. It's pretty sad when the county library next to us has, good green grass, and here we are dirt. It's a different ambiance, if you will. Really cleaning the bushes and the mediums. So I believe I could actually tackle appearance. If in an earlier question, I could help get some of those job backs, which were the people who maintain keeping our appearance up in the parks, making sure it looked good, the mediums in our roadways, and things like that.
In the same vein, how about deteriorating streets and potholes?
Yeah, it's been a problem for quite some time. It was even during the last election. And I remember even our current mayor really being passionate about those potholes. But here we are today. Still a lot of potholes, some even worse than they were a few years ago, and actually a lot more. So when it comes to potholes, I want to go seek out more government grants. There's additional grants out there that I'm not sure if the city's really looked into from the federal government. So seeing if we can get some more money. I'd even, because I believe in community involvement, I think it would be great for the community to really get involved and say, okay, this is what we're getting this year to deal with streets. This is the budget for streets for us to fix this. So as a community, let's make a decision together, right? It's better that way than, just the council deciding they're like, you didn't care about us. You know what I mean? Get their involvement and say, as a city, these are the 10 streets we've outlined. Let's all place a vote and then see which ones we're tackling first out of the 10. And you know what I mean? And go that way.
Last one on this question. There are laws and unfunded mandates from Sacramento which work to the detriment of California City. Is there anything that you can do to affect those?
Well, I think we're limited other than sending in formal complaints to certain legislative bodies, whether it be congressmen or things like that. But if they make a law that we have to abide by, we have to abide by it.
So here's a little different twist of a question. How can the public help you if elected and the city be successful?
If I'm elected, I want them to consistently stay engaged with me. Let me know what's going on in the city, maybe some things I'm not aware of, so that way we as a community can tackle them. Really helping me be able to legislate on their behalf and show their concerns and trust that I will keep their information private. But, come to me, speak to me. I'm always going to be willing and able to talk to them and address any concerns they have. I want their insight, their input, their knowledge, and ongoing meetings with the public, like I said, in quarterly town hall meetings. So that way, together, we can help make a difference. So that's how they can help me.
Final question. If you're elected, describe the changes and improvements that we can expect to see at the end of your term.
I believe I will play a good, significant role in helping change the council culture, really making the community start believing again in our elected officials and rebuilding the trust back in our city government, making sure that the public is always heard and they're feeling like they're being served and been served well. That I was effective for them, and that's why they would want to continue having me again and again, to just know that I'm going to put in all my effort, all my energy, all the hours needed into making sure that we can be a city that's moving forward instead of backwards.
Well, lastly, why don't you make an appeal to the voters of why they should vote for you?
I hope you vote for me. I can assure you that I'm ready to serve on day one. I'm someone who is going to make sure that you have all of your issues addressed, discussed. Make sure that you can start trusting the government again and knowing that we are doing things to make our city move forward and not backwards. Together, you and I can help make Cal City a better, more thriving city on a path to possibilities.
Well, on behalf of I Love Cal City, and we ask that you get out and vote November 5th.
Thank you.